Discover the incredible, heartwarming stories of Shanghai's opium dens, hidden truths revealed. Maya wiped down the counter at the diner, the hot grease from the griddle mixing with the heavy air outside. The rain tapped a rhythm against the window, mirroring the chaos inside, voices clattering like silverware, laughter mixing with frustration. "Another day, another dollar," she muttered, stealing a quick smile at Eli, who was perched on a barstool with his sticky fingers wrapped around a melting sundae. His eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. Despite their struggles, he always found a way to dream big. This diner was a lifeline, but as she served plates to regulars, she couldn't shake the weight on her shoulders. The bills piled up, and with each late-night shift, she felt the ties to her family stretch thinner. Estranged from her own parents, Maya wrestled with self-doubt. Could she ever break the cycle? One rainy afternoon, as she sifted through her late grandfather's belongings, a flood of memories washed over her. The musty smell of old books brought back whispers of bedtime stories. Nestled beneath the dust lay a fragile diary, its pages worn and yellowed with age. Intrigued, she flipped it open. The tales inside leaped at her, vivid accounts of Shanghai's opium dens, words that echoed resilience and despair. Her grandfather's battles during World War II, intertwined with addiction and hope, spoke to her own struggles all too well. Maybe, she thought, heart racing, if he could overcome that darkness, maybe I can find my way too. Each entry burned like a light in the corners of her soul. She resolved to share this legacy and, more importantly, connect with her neighbors through their shared stories. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The days passed, and with newfound purpose, Maya organized a community storytelling event at the library. Heart-pounding, she invited everyone, neighbors, friends, anyone who would listen. The first meeting arrived, and so did tension. Instead of unity, anger flared as class prejudices seeped into the room. The disagreements felt heavy, like stones thrown into fragile waters, threatening to drown her hopes, but as the air thickened with frustration, Maya thought back to her grandfather's words: resilience and vulnerability mattered in times of trouble. Gathering her courage, she penned a letter to her community, drawing from the painful yet beautiful tales of strength. Standing in that library, trembling as she faced the crowd, Maya's heart surged with emotion. She recounted her grandfather's life, weaving it together with her own struggles as a single mother. The words flowed like a river, each sentence pulling her deeper into shared humanity. Yet just as the atmosphere shifted towards understanding, a confrontation erupted from an unexpected source, forcing Maya to confront her own pains. In that silence, she was at a crossroads. Would she retreat into the shadows of her struggles, or push forward, fostering empathy where there had been division? The weight of everyone's gaze pressed down on her, and her next words could either heal or break them forever. The room hung on the precipice of a choice, an echo of her grandfather's own battles. Would they find hope or be swallowed by despair? Maya stood at the edge of the moment, her breath caught in her throat. She could feel the energy in the room, a mixture of skepticism and hope swirling like the storm outside. Eli's small figure was tucked in the corner, watching her with those bright, trusting eyes. She remembered the joy he found in simple things, and it gave her strength. "Listen," she began, her voice trembling but determined. "I know this isn't easy for any of us. We all carry our burdens, our histories, the pain we don't always understand. But we can be more than our struggles." A few heads nodded, but others remained skeptical. An older woman in the back interjected, her voice sharp. "You don't understand our lives, Maya. It's easy to tell stories. We need practical help." Maya hesitated, feeling the sting of truth in the woman's words. "You're right. I don't have all the answers. But I'm here to listen. Just like my grandpa's stories taught me. We've got to start somewhere, don't we? Her gaze met the skeptical eyes of those gathered, some faces full of resentment, others tinged with curiosity. And then, to her surprise, a young man named Tarek rose from his seat, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. Maybe it's worth a shot, he said quietly. I've got a story. Maya's heart leaped. Please, share. We're here for each other, she urged, smiling at him. With a deep breath, Tarek launched into his tale. He spoke of his family's struggles, of dreams slowly dimming under the weight of responsibilities and expectations. As he spoke, tension began to dissolve, vulnerability replaced hostility. One by one, voices burst forth, stories intertwining, each filled with pain and resilience. Moved by their honesty, Maya felt tears spring to her eyes. These people shared more than just experiences, they shared pieces of their souls. In that moment, she realized they were building a bridge, a connection forged through open hearts and shared struggles. Hope flickered within her, brightening the darkest corners. As the event wound down, the atmosphere shifted completely. It transformed from a space of division to one brimming with possibility. Eli bounced up to her, his little face glowing. You did it, Mom. They listened. A pang of pride surged through her. We did it, buddy, she replied, hugging him tightly. The warmth of the connection enveloped her like a blanket, but as they gathered their things to leave, the atmosphere turned tense again. A man stepped forward, a newcomer who had been sitting quietly at the back. His presence was imposing, eyes distant yet fiery. What makes you think the stories matter? What's the point if we're still stuck here? The words hung in the air like a challenge, reigniting the uncertainty in the room. Maya's heart raced. This was the moment she had feared after all. All the hope she'd tried to weave now dangled precariously like a fragile thread. She inhaled deeply, ready to grasp for a response, to show him and everyone else why their stories mattered. But as her mouth opened, a sudden realization pierced through the weight of her anxiety. What if the stories weren't enough? What if sharing them did little to change their lives? Maya, a voice whispered from the crowd, what happens next? That single question hung in the air, laden with expectation, open and waiting for answers she didn't have yet. Could she truly lead them toward healing, or would the pathway remain hidden in the fog of uncertainty? The weight of her role pressed down on her, heavy and unyielding. But just as that sense of despair threatened to suffocate her, the flicker of determination ignited in her chest. She could still light the way. Would they walk it together? Maya stood there, the newcomer's question echoing in her mind. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing in on her, a clamor of doubts gnawing at her resolve. With each heartbeat, she searched for the words that could bridge the chasm of skepticism. Stories matter because they connect us, she finally said, her voice gaining strength with every syllable. They remind us we're not alone in our struggles. They offer comfort, a way to understand each other's pain. The man crossed his arms, his brow furrowed. So what? Talking doesn't put food on the table or pay the rent. Maya felt desperation creep around her like a vine, but she fought it off. I know. But when we share our stories, we find common ground. We inspire hope. Maybe we can find solutions together. She glanced around the room, searching faces filled with uncertainty, willingness, and some bittersweet nostalgia. The stories can spark action, she continued, her voice softer now, more intimate. They can help us see the true value in coming together. And from that place, we can build something better. Tarek stepped forward, a fire igniting behind his eyes. I didn't believe it at first. But sharing my story lifted a weight off my shoulders. I want to do more than just talk. I'd like to set up a community meeting. We can brainstorm ideas, practical actions. We can raise funds, find resources. A low murmuring rippled through the crowd. Maya felt the tension crackling in the airshift. Hope started to blossom in that dim room, unfurling slowly like a flower reaching for light. Eli tugged at her sleeve, his small voice cutting through the noise. Mom, can I help? I like talking to people. Maya chuckled, glancing down at her son. Of course, buddy. You're already doing a great job. It was a small moment, but it sent a rush of warmth through her heart. It felt good to share that spark with Eli. Maybe if we pool our resources, we can build something real, a woman added from the back. A community garden, workshops, maybe an exchange program. Who knows what we can do if we unite our stories? Yes. Tarek exclaimed, enthusiasm rippling through his words. We can host events, invite speakers, shine a light on our issues. It starts with conversation, but it shouldn't stop there. Maya felt a wave of relief crash over her. Perhaps they were on the precipice of something extraordinary. The tension hadn't vanished entirely, but voices were rising, infusing the room with energy. Just as they began to map out their ideas, the newcomer leaned forward, eyes piercing through the crowd. But what if it doesn't work? What if we go through all this trouble and nothing changes? Maya swallowed, grappling with the weight of his words, feeling the cautious pulses of doubt threaten to rise once again. Then we'll learn. Every step is a step forward. We'll carry our stories and our lessons with us. That's what matters. In that moment, she realized something profound. It wasn't just about the change, it was about the journey they would share. Through every ounce of fear, through every courageous act of sharing and giving, they would form unbreakable bonds. As momentum grew, the air filled with excitement, laughter, ideas, dreams. Just as it seemed they had turned the corner on their anxieties, Maya felt a flicker of doubt whisper in her mind. What if the doubts never truly went away? What if, despite her best efforts, she couldn't lead them where they hoped to go? What happens when the stories stop? She wondered aloud, her question lingered, crackling in the air like an unresolved tension, waiting for the first brave heart to step forward and offer an answer. There was a moment of silence following Maya's question, heavy like a storm cloud ready to burst. People shifted in their seats, glancing at one another, taking measure of the thought she had just dropped into the air. It was a challenge, an invitation to confront their fears and uncertainties. Finally, Tarek stepped forward again, his brow smoothing as he focused on Maya. They don't have to stop, he said, his voice carrying a steadiness that made Maya's heart lift. We just need to keep the conversation alive. Each of us sharing our experiences becomes a thread in a greater tapestry. As long as we reach out, as long as we listen, the stories will continue. A few nods of agreement rippled through the crowd. It felt like hope had found a little more room to breathe. Maya joined in, her smile breaking through the clouds in her heart. Exactly. She exclaimed. If we keep sharing, we create a space that encourages more people to join in. It's not just about the conversation now, it's about nurturing it over time, helping it evolve. Eli bounced in his seat, excitement brightening his face. If we keep talking, we can make so many more friends. Maya caught his infectious joy, her heart swelling. This was more than she had hoped for that night. It was blossoming right in front of them, a quiet revolution taking shape with every shared experience. And remembering those stories is key too, a woman from the back called out. She was just a shadow in the dim light, but Maya could see her passion shining through. We could create a community board. Keep a record of the stories, share them online, let people see what we're doing. That's brilliant. Tarek replied, the enthusiasm contagious. We could even create a social media group. That way, everyone can share thoughts, ideas, and stories at their convenience. It could grow wider than we ever imagined. Maya's heart raced. It was exhilarating to witness this surge of ideas. Each suggestion ignited the room, a sparking collection of brilliance where despair had once threatened to linger. As the discussions turned to practical steps, she felt layers of tension peel away from her shoulders. The chatter grew louder, a whirlwind of energy transforming the once quiet room into a hub of collaboration and shared resolve, but beneath this newfound excitement, the lingering question of how to sustain this inspiration still nudged at her. What would happen when the initial enthusiasm began to fade? Would fear seep back in, nodding their voices again? Let us set a date for our first meeting, she said, forcing herself to push the doubt aside, if only for the moment. We'll meet next week, and we'll plan something bigger, a way to bring the community together. A wave of enthusiasm washed over them. Ideas flew around, names were suggested, plans were set in motion. Can we meet at the park? There's a playground and space to gather. Eli chimed in, eyes wide with excitement. Maya laughed, her heart brimming with pride. That sounds perfect, buddy. It'll be a day full of stories, laughter, and friendship. The voices of the room blended once again, weaving hope into those walls, and for a moment everything felt possible. But as she watched the spirited energy rise, the whisper of doubt curled tighter around her heart. How do we ensure voices that need to be heard don't get lost in the noise? She asked, hesitation flickering in her chest. Once again, silence filled the room, the weight of her question hanging heavily in the air. Would their enthusiasm falter under that weight, or would it ignite an even fiercer determination to be heard despite the odds? The uncertainty lingered, but beneath it, a fire burned brighter. What awaited them when they finally took that leap? Maya felt the silence wrap around her, a thick blanket of uncertainty. Was it too much to ask for every voice to matter? Her mind raced. Would their momentum crumble, or could they find strength together? Just then, Tarek broke the tension again. We should create a safe space where everyone feels comfortable sharing, he suggested, his face earnest. Let us have guidelines for our gatherings. Something simple, but effective. If people know it's safe to speak up, they'll be more willing to share. Maya could see it already. A community where everyone's story held value. Where silence would not rule. Slowly, heads began to nod again. One by one, they each found a spark of agreement, and Maya felt a rush of gratitude. Yes, she said, her voice strong now. We could set a simple guideline: listen without judgment, embrace vulnerability, and share the spotlight. The more we practice this, the easier it'll become. Eli leaned forward, eyes shining. Can we have a story tree? Like a big board with branches where we hang stories written on leaves? The innocence and creativity in his voice pulled laughter from the crowd. I love that idea. Another person chimed in. We could decorate it with colors and personal touches. It can remind us to keep the stories alive and flourishing. The room buzzed with excitement as the visuals came to life. Ideas flowed like water, and soon, they were mapping out plans not only for their first meeting in the park but also for what came after. Let us make it a carnival of stories. One voice suggested. We could have food, games, and invite local musicians. We'll draw everyone in, and they'll see how vibrant our community is. Maya's pulse quickened. This was growing beyond anything she had imagined. Each person was invested now, each voice helped weave the fabric of their collective dream. As the laughter and chatter grew, she couldn't help but feel a sense of belonging wash over her, but in the midst of the joy, her heart whispered doubts. What if they lost their way? When the dust settled and the noise quieted, would they still embrace their mission? Then, someone called her name. It was Tara, a woman from the back who had stood silently until now. Maya, she said, her voice steady. What happens if someone feels vulnerable and their story doesn't fit the happy narrative? What if they need a softer space? Maya paused. The room grew still again, the air thick with this new reality. It was a valid concern. Not all stories shine bright, some are wrapped in shadows. Maybe we can have designated times for different discussions, she proposed. Some days can focus on healing, while others celebrate achievements. Tara smiled, relief washing over her features. That could work. Everyone exchanged glances, and it felt like they had unraveled something crucial together. They were learning to navigate complexities, a journey deeper than anticipated. It was more than just surface connections, it was about truly understanding one another. As they wrapped up for the night, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something monumental. They had thrown that first stone into the quiet pond, and the ripples were growing. But looming at the edges of her thoughts was the question, would they all rise together? Could they sustain this growing fire when life tested their bonds? With hope and trepidation mingling in her chest, Maya knew they were just at the beginning. And what lay ahead might reshape not just their community, but their very souls. What would happen when they unveiled their stories to the world? Would it ignite change, or would it expose them to unforeseen vulnerabilities? The day of the first meeting in the park arrived, and Maya woke up with butterflies fluttering in her stomach. She had spent the night preparing, gathering supplies, and practicing her speech. Today felt monumental, an opportunity to anchor their dreams into reality. Stepping outside, the sun bathed the neighborhood in golden hues, a stark contrast to the weight of nervous anticipation she felt arriving at the park. Maya surveyed the space. Children laughed as they flew kites, couples strolled hand in hand, and families spread picnic blankets on the grass. She took a deep breath, letting the vibrancy of life around her seep into her soul. This was the community she wanted to embrace, to inspire. As people started to gather, excitement ignited in her heart. They trickled in, each face lighting up with a mixture of curiosity and hope. Even Tara, who had voiced her worries last meeting, arrived with a welcoming smile. Maya's heart swelled. She knew that stepping into vulnerability meant acknowledging fears, yet here they were, ready to create this safe haven together. "Welcome, everyone," Maya began, her voice ringing clear and confident. "I'm so glad you all came today. This is a safe space where we can share our stories, learn from each other, and grow as a community. Remember, every voice matters." The energy shifted. Heads nodded, and a whisper of excitement rippled through the crowd. Maya introduced the concept of the story tree, and the laughter returned. Eli's eyes sparkled as he volunteered to help hang the first stories on its colorful branches. That small act seemed to lighten the tension, making everyone feel a little more at ease. They started with icebreakers, games designed to loosen stiff shoulders and draw out soft laughter. Slowly, the barriers began to fall, and stories began to flow. A man named Carlos spoke of his migration journey, the struggles he faced, and the hope that pushed him forward. A woman's tale of loss was tender, weaving in moments of resilience that left the group visibly moved. Then, it happened. Someone shared a story that was raw, heavy with emotion. Maya felt the shift in the air, as hearts began to connect in ways that words struggled to capture. There were no smiles, only nods of empathy and understanding. This was the softer space Tara had mentioned, a place where vulnerability could bloom without judgment. Maya held her breath, fearing the moment might slip away, but it didn't. Instead, it deepened. People began reaching out, sharing their struggles too. It was their shadows that intertwined, showing how darkness could lead to such beautiful light. As they shared stories, Maya noticed Tara standing quietly, her face shimmering with appreciation. The shared connection knit tighter among them all, binding their experiences together. Maya's heart soared. They were rising together, each story a thread woven into a tapestry of understanding, but beneath the surface of this communal catharsis, doubts lingered. Would the depth of these stories hold when life's challenges arose again? Could their newfound bonds withstand the storms that inevitably confronted each individual? As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky with oranges and purples, Maya felt an electric energy in the air, an unspoken promise that they could handle whatever came next. Then, just as the day was wrapping up, a new voice emerged. It was quiet but powerful, and everyone turned to listen. What if some stories need a home, a place where they are not just shared, but heard deeply? Maya's breath caught. The question hung in the air, heavy with the weight of truth. Could they build a community not only for stories to be spoken but for hearts to be understood? As the night loomed closer, the flickering fire of inspiration sparked within her. It was just the beginning, and the road ahead would be anything but straightforward. But with every story, the bonds were solidifying. The question remained, would they have the courage to dive deeper into the hidden chambers of their hearts? The air was thick with possibility as Maya glanced around at the circle of faces illuminated by the fading light. The question echoed in her mind, a seed rooting itself deeper. She could feel the weight of that moment. It was not just about sharing stories, it was about creating a safe place for souls to be truly seen and heard. Eli, always the quirky one, broke the spell. I think it's a brilliant idea. Why don't we all take turns writing down what we need in a space like that? Maybe we could literally build something, a little library of stories? His enthusiasm was infectious, and soon a buzz of ideas began to spark among the group. Nora, her brow furrowed in thought, chimed in, but how do we ensure they're safe? What if someone shares something too painful and feels exposed? We can't just throw everything into the open without some kind of protection. This was the moment when the group swung back into a thoughtful silence. Maya felt her heart racing. It was crucial to address those concerns. Nora, you raise a valid point. We can't ignore the risks of vulnerability, but we can set guidelines together. We can talk about safe sharing. Tara, who had been listening intently, nodded. Maybe each person could choose how much to share about themselves. It could be like writing a letter to whom it may concern. The conversation flowed again, ideas washing over each other in waves. Maya watched as people lit up with thoughts, brainstorming about the walls of their community, something to protect their voices. The circles were all mixing and creating colors, just like her envisioned story tree. Then Carlos spoke up. Look, sharing our stories can be a powerful tool. But it can also be healing. I remember when I first told mine, it felt like a giant rock lifting off my chest. It's like, you confront the pain, and in that confrontation, you find your story's truth. His words resonated deeply, and a collective murmur of agreement spread through the circle. As they began to talk logistics, how to create this safe library, what standards to set, and how to maintain the stories. Maya felt a sense of urgency mingled with excitement. Here they were, carving their vision into reality, building a foundation that felt incredibly solid and fragile all at once. The sun finally dipped behind the trees, and darkness wrapped around them like a soft blanket. The park's chatter faded into a soothing backdrop, and the group continued to digest the gravity of what they had begun. Maya could see light glimmering in their eyes. They all felt it, a connection that could shape their paths, but as the twilight settled in, a shadow of doubt crept back into her mind. Could they sustain this momentum? Would the gravity of shared garments weigh down their fragile hearts when hard truths surfaced? What if they couldn't carry the burdens they sought to uncover? Just then, a soft voice broke through, a gentle reminder of their shared mission. You know, we're all in this together. We're stronger when we lift each other up, Tara said, her expression confident, a spark that rekindled Maya's earlier enthusiasm. Exactly. Maya exclaimed, her heart doing a little leap. We'll have to work on our trust, but if we truly listen and honor each story, we can create something beautiful. Just as the group started to wind down, looking at each other with a sense of unity, Carlos spoke again, this time with a challenge that hung in the air. What if we all agreed to share one story each week? Just one. It could spark something big. Maya's heart raced. They had only scratched the surface of courage. What stories would emerge? What hidden truths lay unloved in the corners of their minds? As they collected their belongings, she knew that the next meeting would be essential. They were just beginning to uncover layers of beauty and strength buried beneath pasts. The next gathering could change everything. Would they find the courage to dive deeper and uncover their truths? The thought lingered in the air, demanding to be felt. The week passed in a blur of anticipation for Maya. Each day was filled with thoughts of the upcoming gathering, dreams of potential stories swirling in her mind. She imagined the little library of stories taking shape, filled with voices, laughter, and even tears. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. On the day of the meeting, the autumn breeze flowed through the trees, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and change. As friends arrived at the park, the air buzzed with excitement. Maya's heart swelled as each familiar face appeared. They found their usual spot, a circle of worn benches beneath a towering oak, their sacred space. "Hey everyone! I'm so glad we're all here." Maya greeted them, her voice shaking slightly with her nerves. Carlos was the first to speak. "So, who wants to share their story today? Let us break the ice." The challenge hung in the air, heavy with both promise and fear. Tara stepped forward. "I can go. I have something that's been on my mind for a while." She took a deep breath and began. Her voice wavered at first, unraveling an emotional thread that had been trapped for too long. Watching her, Maya felt the intensity fill the circle, everyone leaning in, riveted by Tara's story. She spoke of her childhood and how her family had fought against the tide of expectations, but it was Tara's struggle with feeling worthy that struck a chord. "I always felt like I had to prove myself," Tara said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But the more I tried, the more lost I became. It wasn't until I started to share my struggles that I felt lighter." The group was silent as they absorbed her words. Nora looked at Tara, a tear escaping down her cheek. "You're so brave," she whispered. "I felt the same way growing up. I thought it was just me." As the stories flowed, one by one, tales unfolded, each carrying a piece of hidden pain and unexpected strength. Eli's laughter transformed into heartfelt confessions, revealing how he wrestled with feeling like the odd one out. There were stories of regret, dependency, and moments of revelation. Maya listened, her heart a tapestry woven with the threads of each experience. The trust in the circle grew thicker, wrapping around them like a warm blanket against the chill of the approaching night. When it was Maya's turn, her throat tightened. Could she reveal her truth? Would her vulnerability scare them away? She hesitated, seconds stretching into minutes, before finally finding her voice. "I've always been afraid of being too much, too loud, too emotional." It was strange to admit it, but she felt a wave of relief as she spoke. "I want to share more, but I'm scared of how people will see me." The room felt electric. Suddenly, all eyes were on her, filled with understanding and empathy. Carlos jumped in. "You're not alone. We're all scared of being judged. But the truth is, sharing is connecting." Each story shared became a mirror reflecting the other's struggles and fears back at them, disparate yet connected. The weight of the week melted away, replaced with an acceptance that felt like home. In that moment, each member of the circle could feel their burdens lifting. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow around them, Maya looked around and felt a profound sense of gratitude. They were no longer just individuals. They were a community, raw, real, and united in their shared experiences. Just as they prepared to close the meeting, a new voice emerged, one filled with hesitation. "What if I can't do this?" It was Nora, clearly grappling with her own insecurities. Heads turned, and attention shifted, the circle now ready to embrace her vulnerability. Maya's heart raced. Would they rally to lift Nora up? Would this be another stone in the foundation they were building, or would it crack open the silence that could shatter their newly formed trust? The air hummed with the weight of the question, and Maya could feel the stirrings of what might come next. Nora's voice trembled as all eyes focused on her. "I keep coming to these meetings, wanting to share, but I just feel so small." The honesty in her words sent ripples through the circle. Maya's heart ached for her friend. She could see the anxiety etched across Nora's face, the shadows of self-doubt lingering in her eyes. "Small? You're anything but small," Eli exclaimed, leaning forward. "You matter just as much as any of us here. Your story is just as important." Nora swallowed hard, searching for the courage within her. "I don't know. I feel like I don't have anything important to say. Everyone else has such deep experiences." "We're not here to judge the weight of our stories," Carlos encouraged gently. "It's about being real, sharing what's in your heart." Maya could feel the tension in the air. She remembered her own anxiety moments earlier, standing in front of her friends battling her vulnerability. They had all felt this fear but had pushed through it. Would Nora find the same strength? Just talk, Tara said softly, her eyes shining with encouragement. You can do it. Taking a deep breath, Nora toyed with a frayed hem of her sweater. It was a nervous habit. Okay, I'll try. As she spoke, the words tumbled out slowly at first, then grew more confident. Growing up, I always felt invisible, like I was just someone to fill up space. No matter what I did, I felt like no one really noticed me. Her voice warmed with the memories, her friends leaning in closer, urging her on. Sometimes, I would blend into the walls, hoping for a flash of recognition, but it never came. It was exhausting. And that made me feel like I was more a ghost than a person. Each whisper echoing from the heart of the park stung like a fresh breeze, each story woven into the others like fine threads. Maya held her breath, captivated. She knew what it was like to feel invisible, to fade into the scenery, longing for significance. Nora continued, her rhythm picking up, I've always admired you guys for sharing your truths, but I didn't think I had the right to do the same. I didn't want to add to the noise, to burden you. With every word, the group shifted closer, cocooned in trust that thickened in the twilight. They didn't just hear her, they felt her pain resonating in each of their struggles. Maya watched as tears pooled in many eyes. This shared experience enveloped them, revealing cracks in the walls that each had carefully constructed. When Nora finished, the silence was charged, a shared gasp of realization hung in the air. Carlos broke it with a warm smile. You see? You've got a story. And it is beautiful. Eli nodded vigorously. You opened up. That takes courage. And look at us, we're all here because we relate. The group erupted into soft murmurs of encouragement, each person building upon the last. It filled the circle with warmth and connection. Slowly, Nora's face began to brighten, and a small smile emerged, building from the very bottom of her heart. Maya felt overwhelmed. Each experience shared stood as a testament to the power of vulnerability. A collection of lives, stitched together with emotions, laughter, and tears. But as the night deepened and the stars began to twinkle above them like lanterns, a weight began to settle once more. What lay ahead? Each voice had been a revelation, but would all the stories told be enough to carry each of them forward? Maya looked around at the collective warmth thriving in the encroaching darkness. Yet, within her, a new worry took root. How do we keep the courage alive beyond today? She wondered softly. As her eyes lingered on her friends, she could feel the tension rising again. A new question stirred, just waiting to set the next meeting in motion. Next time, she began, heart racing anew, how do we support one another as we face our fears outside this safe space? The crowd shifted in silence, the weight of Maya's question hanging in the air. Each face reflected determination mingled with apprehension. She could feel the pulse of their shared journey, and a flicker of excitement ignited within her. This was not just a gathering, it was a movement. Finally, Carlos spoke up. We could create a mentorship system. Each of us could pair up with someone who needs a buddy, someone to lean on when things get rough. His suggestion sparked nods and murmurs of approval around the circle, the flickers of hope illuminated like stars in the night. I love that idea. Tara exclaimed, her eyes glinting. Buddies could check in regularly. Whether it's through texts, calls, or meetings, whatever feels right. The discussion quickly picked up momentum. Maya felt a wave of warmth wash over her as she listened to their collective vision unfold. Ideas sprang forth like wildflowers. They envisioned community challenges, encouraging one another to share stories of triumph and stick together through hardship. Eli piped up, can we have a story of the week? The one that inspires everyone. His little face glowed with excitement, energizing the adults around him. Yes. We can create a kind of spotlight, share someone's story on a board or online. It would honor their journey and inspire others. Nora's eyes lit up, her earlier unease washed away by the community's growing buzz. Maya's heart swelled. Each voice was powerful, and together they formed an unwavering current. This was transformation, this was hope. They were building a framework that celebrated each story, turning pain into strength. As the evening wore on, a sense of clarity emerged. They began to outline tangible actions, from creating a digital community that could share resources and support to setting meeting goals that kept them accountable. Let us set goals not only for sharing, but also for actively seeking support, too. Maya asserted, her confidence flickering brightly. Let us grow together not just in stories but in progress. By the time the night wrapped up, a ripple of exhilaration buzzed through the group. They all felt it, a connection forged in understanding and empathy. And as they started to pack up, there was a tangible shift. A shared determination settled amongst them, an unspoken commitment to uphold this newfound bond. As Maya walked Eli home under a starlit sky, she felt lighter. Did you see how everyone opened up tonight, Eli? Her voice bounced with excitement. He nodded enthusiastically, bouncing beside her. Yeah. It felt like magic. Everyone shared their hearts, and it was awesome. Can we do it again tomorrow? She chuckled at his enthusiasm. Not quite tomorrow, but soon. We're just getting started. Taking a moment, Maya pondered how they had gone from uncertainty to a sisterhood of strength. The stories exchanged had become a tapestry, vibrant with the colors of each person's life. They were no longer simply neighbors, they were family, bound by the common threads of their hearts. That night, as Maya tucked Eli into bed, she felt a wave of gratitude. Gratitude for the courage found in vulnerability, the power of connection. Her grandfather's legacy lived on in unseen ways. Sweet dreams, buddy, she whispered, leaning down to plant a soft kiss on his forehead. Good night, Mom. I'm excited for tomorrow. He gushed, his optimistic spirit wrapping around her heart like a warm hug. As she closed the door, she couldn't help but smile. There would be challenges ahead, but with each story shared, they would be equipped to face those challenges together. She felt a sense of overflowing hope. When the next meeting finally came around, Maya stood at the front, looking at the faces before her. They were all there, eager and determined. Her heart pounded as she took a deep breath, remembering every struggle they had faced. Welcome back, everyone, she announced, her voice steady against the background hum. Tonight, we will share not only stories but also a plan for how we can support each other. I believe there's power in our experiences, and each of us can lead with our truth. The energy in the room surged, their unity palpable. Together, they had forged a path, a journey that didn't just reflect their struggles but heralded the dawn of something wondrous. Maya closed her eyes for a moment, allowing herself to fully embrace the love and support radiating within this space. It is time to take what we've learned, to harness our stories as a guiding force to uplift each other. This is the moment to rise together, she declared passionately, and with that, the synergy of their voices combined, forming a chorus of conviction that would echo across their community. The stories, once hidden away, would nourish the roots of their bonds as they ventured forward, healing, connecting, transforming. With the spirit of determination ignited, they realized that every voice mattered. And no story would ever be forgotten. This moment marked not an ending but a beginning, their stories ready to reach beyond the park, unfolding wide across the tapestry of life. And in their hearts, with every shared breath, they carved their legacy anew. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to join this journey of transformation and connection. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for the stories that unite us. Comment your feelings about this powerful ending and share your own stories. Lastly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, we can inspire a movement.